I'm gonna start the thing that we're supposed to be doing now.
Oh, we're actually recording. Okay, let's go.
Alright. Hello, Wastelanders. Welcome to episode 15 of the PIPCAST 3000, a totally generic and uninteresting Fallout and gaming news podcast hosted by myself, Caedo Genesis, and BADCompanySarge.
Howdy.
And before we get started, I wanted to mention to everyone here that, like, the next couple days from today, I'm going to be going full-time for at least a while. And if you would like to help support me in making that permanent, the Patreon link is down below. And also, we have a lot of stuff over on the Patreon, including, you know, the credits and stuff like that you get put in on the end cards and stuff. You get to see my face, you get to get monthly updates, special chats in the Discord and stuff like that. There's all kinds of cool perks and stuff. I should have rehearsed this, to be honest.
It's alright, it's natural. It's a real behind-the-scenes look. This is a taste of what you'll get from all the behind-the-scenes stuff. A taste of what
you'll get. You'll get me bumbling through my words all the time. And yeah, if you want to support me, this is the perfect time to start doing that, because you can help make history. Make history for the channel.
Oh, okay, for the channel. I thought that was just a general help make history. In the history books forever.
It could be the humble beginnings of the Caedo Empire. I don't know. Hey Sarge, what's the tip of the day, and what are the topics for stuff like that and things?
Tip of the day, perfect segue by the way there. The tip of the day is to explore your options. If you've played through a game before, just take a different path to what you did last time. There's tons of different things you can end up doing, and you may be surprised by what you find. A really obvious one for this is, like, if you play as a good guy first time, maybe you go bad guy second time. Actually, from that just one sentence, I also like to play as, like, either a guy or girl on the first playthrough, and flip it to the second one, because there's sometimes, like, mind changes to voice options, which is cool.
Yeah. There's with the games that we play and the games that we cover, there's a lot of those types of options too.
For topics, you will see them all on screen. We've got a ridiculous amount to cover, from the Outer Worlds to Fallout 4 to Fallout 76 to all of the Fallouts to Borderlands 3 to Wolfenstein to Cyberpunk to GTA and QuakeCon, which isn't a game. I shouldn't have included that, but it's still gaming related. There's so much.
Yeah, so I put 76 kind of at the end because we've kind of begun just about every podcast with 76 info, and I wanted to flip it.
Yeah.
So we have some other things we're going over first. Hey Sarge, how about the Outer Worlds? How about that stuff?
Oh man, it looks like a video game.
It does.
Yeah, I'm guessing there was a embargo or something going on, because a lot of footage on the game dropped at kind of all the same time from different channels.
Yeah.
So everyone seemed to release it, and I've only watched 2 videos on it. I watched Fudge Muppet and Outside Xbox do the level cover. Fudge Muppet's video on it, by the way, is very good. Like,
yes,
it was incredibly well put together, and they've obviously put a lot of effort into it, and I was like, sweet, that's awesome. I then watched Outside Xbox, a channel that's like 10 times bigger than them or whatever, and I was like, God, this feels really bad in comparison.
Shout out to Michael, Scott, and Drew.
Yeah, they did a really good job on that.
Dudes.
I was thoroughly enthralled.
Yeah.
And yeah, their video as well has got me going from the stage where I was at previously, where I was determined not to get at all excited about the game, because I didn't want it to just drop and me not feel like it was what I'd hoped for, and now I'm like, oh, I really want to play this game, which is good.
Yeah. Because the footage that we saw initially, like the tease footage and stuff like that, I think it was during E3, it didn't look amazing. Like, it looked very, like, generic sci-fi, shootery, role-playing type thing. And it's kind of... I don't want to say it still looks that way. It looks like it has everything it needs to.
Yeah.
And with that Obsidian flair. If that makes sense.
Well, for me, the big problem before seeing more of this and having, like, people talk about it a bit more in actual detail, the problem I had was everyone was going, oh, it's a game by the people who made Fallout, it's going to be like a good Fallout game, as, like, the selling point for it, and I was like, okay, that's not exactly what it's going to be, so I'm not getting excited for people theorizing based on what some of the employees who previously worked at a company which made some of the previous Fallout games, what they're doing now with a completely different game. It's like, that's just speculation to the extreme. I wanted to see what the game looked like, see stuff in it that I was like, that is really cool, such as some of the different weapons which do cool stuff, variety of enemies, different factions, and options in how you're going to play. I've seen all of that now, and I'm like, sweet, that's some stuff I can get behind. Now I'm willing to be excited.
And seeing the weapon modification system, I watched the developer one as well as Michael and Scott's.
Yeah.
And
I've seen that too.
And they were talking about weapon modifications, and it's one of the character skills or something like that, where you can it's like engineering or mechanic type thing, where you can just modify your weapon to do different elemental damages and stuff like that, and that's an awesome addition to, I guess, what we know in games. So imagine, I don't know, I guess Skyrim's enchanting system, but with guns. I don't know what other association I can
elemental
make here.
effects from guns is fairly common in a lot of games now. Like Dauntless had it, the Borderlands franchise has had it, Fallout has it to some extent now. I mean,
but customizable to the weapon. I was gonna make the Borderlands thing, but like you can't really customize them. You just pick them up. At least so far. But one of the things I really enjoyed was their description of the pigs that were I don't know if you saw that part. The pigs that were that were genetically engineered to grow these cysts that would fall off and be bacon.
Yep.
and that's how they like got their bacon. Was like it had nothing to do with slaughtering the pigs. It was just, picking these cysts off, or these tumors off like fruit.
I mean, that's a really nice concept, because it's technically like a better way to do things, and from like all perspectives pretty much, it's more good for the animals, it's good
technically
for the people
humane.
And all of that stuff. Yeah, it's great, but it's also like, that is great, now excuse me whilst I go throw up.
It's very gross also.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I saw some of the combat. I know it was like an early build that they showed, but I was also pretty enticed by having companions and having their little special moves and stuff like that. I didn't see much variety though with their special moves, but that probably just has to do with the fact that you're kind of level locked in that demo. So like later on they probably had other like cool special moves that they would do during fights and stuff like that. But I am kind of stoked to see what else Obsidian shows us before they release, because it's in October, right? That's when it's supposed to come out.
I think that's right. I really should check before saying that, but yeah, that
I
sounds
should have
right.
written down dates.
It's this year. It's one of those games that's coming out a little bit before Christmas, because I know it's been booked as kind of like the Christmas run-up slot. So October sounds good to me. I'm fine with it being October, although that'll be such a busy month. Oh god, we're going to be so busy, Caedo. There's going to be too much to do.
I don't know, man. I think it's going to be just fine.
It's going to be great, but it is going to be a case of we just won't stop working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be
down. I'm so ready.
Pulling all-nighters for months on end, probably.
I still haven't decided. I know I'm going to do something on the Outer Worlds. I feel like I am going to do something on the Outer Worlds, because people still... It probably doesn't help that a lot of the Fallout people are deciding to, or the Bethesda channels are deciding to cover this game, that association will not go away.
Yep.
Because I want that association to go away, because Obsidian is a developer that hasn't dealt with Fallout New Vegas since 2011? 2012?
Right.
Around-ish. And it's time, I think it's time to move on. I want to say that. I know there's a lot of people that are stuck in the, I need a sequel for New Vegas, or I need a remaster of New Vegas, but I can tell you right now that it's probably not ever going to happen unless there's some sort of magical pigs with tumors fly with some crazy interaction between Bethesda and Obsidian. But Obsidian's working on their own things now, and they're under Microsoft, right?
Sure, why not?
I can't remember. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
There's always big corporate structures. Which is the other thing as well. You've got to get two companies which are competing against one another to deal with each other and all of that kind of stuff. It's a nightmare to make happen, even if everyone on both sides 100% is entirely down for it. It's still so difficult to do.
Yeah. So Obsidian Entertainment, after New Vegas, did the Stick of Truth and Pillars of Eternity. The Stick of Truth was the South Park game they did. They did Tyranny, Pillars of Eternity 2. They've done a lot of other like groundbreaking, like both classic RPGs, like a weird South Park JRPG type thing, which was humorous at that gross level, and no doubt, from the sounds of it, very fun to play as well. And now they have the Outer Worlds, so we should be excited for the things that they're doing for themselves, as opposed to working with a franchise that is not necessarily theirs anymore. I hate it. Hurts to say that too, because that's some of the original people, but like they have their own new ambitions, dude. Let them do it. I think I'm done with this topic. Go on with the next one, Sarge.
Fallout 4 has been colorized by a YouTube channel called The Gaming Restoration, but it was done through a weird AI technology, which I'm more interested in that side of it than the actual, it looks pretty. Because I watched this literally just before we started recording, and I was like, that's good for the most part. It looks like how you'd probably imagine it. There's some colour blurring and stuff where it looks like the AI isn't able to detect where things end and where things go into another, so there's a bit of bleeding and so on. But for the most part, it's very well done. Shows like, that's a good thing. Thing is, this is technology we've seen done in other ways as well, like footage from World War I, which has been recolorized with AI, is something really cool to see. Whereas this is something that was obviously filmed in colour and then just turned black and white originally, and now has been recolored by an AI. So I've really, really undermined it now. So Caedo, talk about why it's so cool.
Just the fact that it's in color. Like, if I were to watch it, say if they had this instead in the game, I don't think there would be much effect lost. I think it would put you in that universe a little bit better, actually, because the colors are still somewhat faded, or kind of has that 30s to 50s washout kind of thing, and I dig it very much so. And also seeing that mushroom cloud in color is pretty cool.
The mushroom cloud was kind of cool. There's like certain scenes where you're like, that's really cool, and other ones where you're like, it'd be fun with black and white. A few of the scenes were like really, really good. Yeah,
the ending like walk off type thing, like that could have been just fine, like black and white. But
and say the
rest of them,
the family shot as well, where it's like his wife and son, or just some person's wife and son. I'm not sure if it's even the same one. That looks a lot better in colour and kind of gives you the whole suburbia vibe a lot better than black and white did. Yeah.
But if you guys have an opportunity to give it a look, of course it's only like three minutes or so. You can check it out in the link below. And they also did quite a few other things on the Gaming Restoration channel. Why don't you just subscribe to them? Why don't you just see like what other cool stuff their machine learning is doing? They redid the Resident Evil 2 intro, the classic one, the Shadow of the Colossus kind of stuff, Quake 3 Arena, a lot of different stuff that they remastered with their machine learning type stuff. And it's just generally a cool concept where a machine or our technology is far enough along to where it can repair on the fly, as opposed to us doing it by hand, frame by frame, and doing it better in some cases, which is awesome and also terrifying.
If you want to see the ultimate endpoint for what terrifying but awesome technology can do, Borderlands 3 has had 2 separate trailers out, which are the Ways to Play trailers for Zane and Mose. And boy oh boy are they cool. They essentially work as a nice combination of backstory for the characters, whilst also giving you some insight into how they will play, hence Ways to Play.
Yes. So these are on the Gearbox and Borderlands YouTube channels. They have the trailers themselves. If you go to the Borderlands website, you can see the action skills of these characters as well, because instead of having one single action skill and then having it be modified, each of these new characters in Borderlands 3, if you didn't know, have 3 separate action skills depending on the tree you choose. So you can, I think you can mix and match them too. Pretty sure.
It appears to be something along those lines.
More ability points or something like that. I don't remember. I don't know if it was clear at all. And it goes over what each of their abilities do and stuff like that. Like, for example...
well, Zane can deploy a decoy, which kind of does the shooting for him, and which he can teleport to and from, so you can switch locations and shoot enemies in the back, then as they turn around, teleport again and shoot them in the back. He's also got a barrier with upgrades to either make it bigger or portable or all kinds of stuff, and you can run through it for damage bonuses, just like Super Shieldy. And he also drinks a lot. That's not one of his action skills, but I think that's worth pointing out. Obviously, I'm more interested in Zane, because I already called dibs on him as playing him.
Zane's your dude. I'm so glad that we all picked different characters.
It has worked out quite well.
It's gonna be awesome.
Like, I'd like to do a drop-in, drop-out co-op Let's Play series once the game does drop, with, like, various other YouTubers of, like, big and small and whatever. But I have a feeling at some point, if I do that, there will be fights over who gets to play as who.
I mean, you can still play as the same character.
Can you have duplicates, though?
Yeah.
Yeah? Wait,
I don't see why you wouldn't.
I mean, they didn't have it before, where you could have... You couldn't have, like... Could you? Mm-hmm. I never did that. So, I guess...
You totally can.
I guess I just self-enforced that every single time I played co-op.
Yeah.
You can just have multiple spend. Still, ignore all of my previous points. I do not know how the Borderlands franchise works.
Okay.
Sweet.
So, Wolfenstein Youngblood came out.
Yes.
That happened.
One of us, I believe, has played it.
Yes. I have played it a little bit. I want to say like 5-6 hours or so. Me and Kite were co-oping it. And because I got the deluxe edition, which... it was never a full price game either. You get the regular edition for like $40 and the deluxe edition for I think like $48, something like that. So it's treated more like a standalone expansion for Wolfenstein 2,
yeah.
kind of, but it's also got apparently Arcane was helping Machine Games at the same time too. For some reason, I like their logo comes up on screen, and I don't know what they did.
Isn't it like a more open story / level design from what I've briefly heard? So I think that might be a bit more of what they've done, because what I've seen of that reminds me of stuff like Dishonored, where you can go different paths and there's all the segmented levels, as opposed to previous Wolfenstein games where it was kind of a tiny bit of openness, but you were walking in a straight line just gunning down Nazis, which is cool, but openness as well. I'm down for that.
Yeah, it's more of a mission-to-mission type thing, and you can also go through the metro system to travel to a different area to do a different mission without having to go back to the hub every single time.
Oh, nice.
Which is nice, but I do have a few complaints about like the overall layout itself. But I do want to start with a couple of good points. You can play co-op. Like that's a big deal. And if you have the deluxe edition, like I said, you can do a buddy code thing and have your friend install the trial version of the game and be like, hey, I want to invite my buddy. They get the full game as long as they're playing with you. So like that's awesome. So that's 2 games that you're buying for basically $45. So yeah, so the way they did that was fantastic, and I don't know. I hope in the future other developers do that. I don't know how successful this one has been though, because there's been a lot more people that are more harsh on the game than me and Kite before too. So like I said, yeah, Kite and I were playing co-op. It's a lot of fun designing your roles around each other to complement each other. The PEP system, which is basically boosting you and your teammates' shield and health, and giving different various buffs depending on what your signal is. Basically, it's very interesting, but you have to be close to one another to get it to work. So mine is doing the robot dance, and it maxes out your armor.
And completely lowers your cool factor.
Yeah, definitely, because it looks goofy. So let me mention that the two women you play as are the daughters of B.J. Blazkowicz. So this is pretty far into the future of the Wolfenstein kind of mythos type thing. So they're trying to find their dad, so they go to Paris. It's a situation where he doesn't want to be found, but his daughters found out where he was, or at least had a clue of where he was, so they went off on their own and did it.
Yep.
And if you remember, Grace was a part of Wolfenstein 2. Her daughter Abby is also going along with the two girls. One of the things, all the guns are cool. They each have their own upgrades. You have your ability upgrades and stuff like that. All those are neat and awesome, but I could not figure out in the game how to have just a straight up map. There's the mini map, but I could not figure out how to bring up the regular map, the actual map of the area that I was in. So it was really difficult to navigate to certain areas, or in one or two cases, leave certain areas because I couldn't find the exit.
Did you hit M?
Yes, many times.
That was my one and only possible solution.
Yeah, so one of the problems I ran into was Abby is like your Otacon, basically. She'll tell you like what's going on. Abby is your guy in the chair, so she'll give you like also like Radiant style objectives during your main missions too.
Okay.
While you're adventuring in the streets of Paris. So there's these 3 towers in the game that you have to take out, and Abby, of course, guides you through that, and your informants in that region. But one of the first one we went to, the Brother 1 tower, you needed the laser craftwork, which is a Nazi-designed laser weapon that you grab and then start using yourself. It's a laser cutter, so it's made for like cutting through metals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To cut through certain doorways and crates and stuff. So we get to this point in the entrance of Brother 1 Tower, and I'm like, we need the laser craftwork, and I don't know where it is. Because Abby said nothing about that. So I look through the checkpoint, which is completely locked down, and there's this metal grate on the right side that I have to have that item to access. And I'm like, well, what the crap do we do? I have no idea. So we backtracked a whole bunch, went to another area of the game, tried to do another mission that involved a laser weapon, which I was like, oh, this makes sense. That's the laser craftwork. That's what we're getting. No, it was just a giant laser that would burn a hole in Brother 2, which was the second tower. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go back to Brother 1, see if we missed something. And I actually had to look it up to figure out that if we looked up, we could go up on a platform, up on the lighting or something like that, and then to a ventilation shaft, and then go into the checkpoint, find the laser craftwork in the back room, and then get through that way. And I was like, oh my goodness. So if you run into that issue at Brother 1, just look up. And that you're in, it never gets told to you. It never gets mentioned. It doesn't have this timer thing that some games have where they're just like, oh, if you're having trouble, maybe look around, look into your surroundings, because that's all they would have to say. Yeah. Like, look at your surroundings a little bit more, familiarize yourself with the area. It couldn't just be like, oh no, you you gotta go elsewhere in town to figure out how to get through this area. And the other issue that I had, again, had to do with navigation. It was Brother 2, by the time we finished up there and had to leave, the objective and the objective marker disappeared because it was finished. So it wouldn't actually tell you how to exit. And by the time I figured out where we were supposed to go, we actually ran through the same room twice. Once we got to the room to where it was right where we entered at, where we entered, we fell down, but I couldn't figure out how to jump back up there. I think we spent like 30 to 45 minutes trying to figure this out and just fighting a whole bunch of Nazis. And then I was like, well, I don't know what to do here. And Kite was like, well, what if we just exit the game and come back in, and maybe it'll set us back at the entrance. And I'm like, that's probably a good idea. So we did, and it set us back at the entrance, but I still have no idea how to exit the building when you're actually trying to leave. And I don't think that part is really a problem with the players more so than it is a problem with how the game is laid out when it comes to navigation, because this is just the second tower. Like, you should focus more so on the dynamics of teaming up with a pal and fighting off Nazis, and sometimes doing a little bit of puzzle work or something like that, but not trying to fight with the environment, trying to leave to go on to the next thing. Anyway, that was a bit of a rant, but overall, I have been having a lot of fun as long as I've been playing it with Kite. I don't think I would have the same amount of enjoyment if I was playing it by myself.
Okay.
In fact, the frustration would probably get the best of me. But yeah, give it a shot if you have something to play with. It's affordable. It's several hours of playtime. Like I said, we got like 5-6 hours in all so far, and there's a whole lot of game there because of the mission style. You don't have a segue?
Oh, I don't know how I can suddenly start talking about Cyberpunk without a segue. Oh, did I mention Cyberpunk there? Oh, well, wouldn't you know, there's a bit of Cyberpunk news we can talk about.
Gee whiz, it'd be really cool if Keanu Reeves was in Wolfenstein.
Oh, speaking of Keanu Reeves for some random reason. Okay, so Cyberpunk, there was... Well, as there always is, there's like conversations and stuff with developers, yada yada yada, all the basic stuff that will happen with any game. However, there was a bit of a mistranslation thing going on about a week or so, where I'm not sure where the translation was got from. It was someone online. Yeah, an interview between CD Projekt Red and Polish news site Gry Online WP was recently translated into English on the video game message board NeoGAF, and I'm reading this from the IGN article, by the way. And the translation reported one quote attributed to CD Projekt Red quest director. Cannot pronounce that name, so I'm not going to attempt it. But the quote was that the company will not avoid any subject, even if they may offend the sensitivity of some, which comes across as very controversial and kind of like, oh, that sounds a little bit aggressive. But it was more so a case of, when you type something into Google Translate and it doesn't quite sound how it would to a native speaker. It was more that than anything else. Because in reality, what they were really saying is that religions and stuff will be present in the game, and we want to give actions to people, and it's their choice to do stuff, but we're also not trying to annoy people, was the essential part of it. But there was a whole hoo-ha.
You know how we said in our tip last PIPCAST to verify your sources or make sure that you fact check kind of thing? This is why that's important.
Yeah.
Because something got blown out of proportion that wasn't even a thing.
Yep.
It wasn't a thing. We made it a thing. The people that were listening incorrectly made it a thing.
Yeah.
And I think we need to, we need to fact check more.
Just a simple one there.
But I'm glad that it got clarified.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Sometimes I'm grateful that sometimes people have that chance to have clarification. And because CD Projekt Red is still respectable, people have that extra patience with them than they wouldn't with Bethesda.
Yeah.
Right now. You could say anything about Bethesda and people would just eat it up. I hate that truth, but
it's annoying. Okay, so mini rant. I read through all of my comments and stuff. When I first started out as a YouTuber, I was like, I'm going to reply to every single comment. I do that a lot less nowadays, and that's mostly due to anti-Bethesda sentiment, because it varies so much. I cover Fallout 76 as my job. The game is flawed, but I enjoy it. And it's got plenty of problems, we've had issues here and there, and that caused a lot of people to get really angry with Bethesda, and I'm doing air quotes there, trying to vocalise air quotes around Bethesda. Not sure how well I'm doing, but with all of that, people took different stances. There's stuff where people are just like, oh, I feel like Bethesda needed to put more time into the game. That's a perfectly valid thing, which isn't like insulting or anything. Then there's people going, this specific developer, I want the worst thing in the world to happen to them because I didn't enjoy the game immediately. And it ranges all the way between there. And oftentimes it's people meaning the same thing, just like, I wasn't too happy and think this thing could be better, but they'll phrase it in the worst ways, or they'll go after people, or they'll start picking on employees at a company rather than the entire unit itself, and God is it annoying and makes me angry. You know what else makes me angry? Illegal gambling. Which isn't technically our next topic, but GTA Online brought in gambling, and it's a whole big thing. So, Caedo, how much of this did you really come across just in day-to-day life? As walking down the streets in America, while with the people with boards up saying, GTA is trying to rob your children. How many of them did you see?
Being I didn't get out much this entire week, besides going to the dentist, not at all.
Oh. Well, that didn't give me enough time to drink my water, so if you could carry on for a second.
Okay. Well, I'll go into our next topic, because that was an excellent segue, by the way. The GTA Online Casino is a thing. It certainly is a thing. It's gambling in video games with actual gambling in a casino. There's a lot of the outspoken vocal people are not happy with it. I watched Jim Sterling. I don't watch him too terribly often, but I did see a good portion of his talks about it, because he's super anti microtransaction. Like, yeah, he will talk it into the ground every single time there's even mention. But this was the perfect kind of stars align type situation where he could talk at length about how bad of an idea this is, where it's already a game where you can purchase in-game money, and now you can use that in-game money to gamble for more money.
Yep.
Or, in this case, it's a casino, so you're going to lose money, probably more so than you're going to gain.
Yeah.
So, like, that whole gross thing that we were all kind of concerned about with microtransactions and the fact that, governments even got involved. Now, Rockstar's just like, screw you guys, we're just gonna throw an actual casino in our game.
Alright, well now, despite me being flared up at the beginning, I'm gonna take the more defensive side, because the video I watched about it, and which I kind of enjoyed the most, I suppose would be the only term I can think of, was one by a friend of mine called Get Good Guy, who talked about it, but gave kind of a very balanced and fair opinion, much more than I was honestly expecting for this subject for anyone to take. Because it's easy for all of us as gamers to go, microtransactions, grr, grr, grr. That's very simple, but he did look at it as more of a case of, how much gambling is this, how does it relate to real gambling, how bad is it, rather than just going for the simple, it's bad, we should be angry. Which is nice to see, because, microtransactions is always kind of annoying, regardless. It's kind of a trigger word, I suppose, for gamers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But in this case,
surprise mechanics!
Yeah, it's just surprise mechanics, Caedo, calm down. In this case, though, Rockstar have done a few minor things to at least make it not as bad as it will first seem. So I believe there's a limit on how many chips you can get each day. So you can't just gamble to your heart's content. You will have to stop at some point, even if you throw money at the game. Okay. There is a limit to that, so that at first was the first thing where I was like, okay, they've put some consideration into this, and they're not being pure evil. Even if you don't like it, they've at least stopped you from throwing all of your money away if you've got a gambling addiction. That's not to say you still can't throw a decent bit of money away at this if you go in like every single day.
Yeah, once a day.
Yeah, buying it out. But they've at least stopped you from getting rid of your entire life savings in a day. It'll take you a good month or two, I reckon, instead. There is also a case of you earn some of the stuff in-game. There's a little bit of that, and because it's video game gambling as well, it's not a case of you earn real money that you can transfer back, so a lot of places aren't saying it's gambling, because there's a bit of a weird conversation going on right now as to what gambling is. So this is digital gambling which doesn't give you a financial reward despite you being able to put a financial thing in there. And there's a whole thing going on with what is the value of in-game items, which especially non-gaming based people will see as worthless, because it's like, oh, that's not real, it can't be worth anything. But for plenty of us who are gamers, we know, oh yeah, in-game items can be worth stuff. That's why Fortnite makes billions.
Yeah, it's so you can look cool, obviously.
Yeah, it's like there is clearly a value for some people with in-game stuff. So it is gambling, but it's a different type of gambling, which the world really hasn't experienced to quite this... I'm trying to think of a word called obvicity, which doesn't exist, but which I'm coining right now. To this obvicity. Okay. It's like... Rockstar literally put a casino in, went, hey, you can spend your money here, you can gamble to your heart's content, but you're not making any money. And the reaction has been bad, mostly. And Sarge coming at you with that logic and reason, yeah! I
mean, it's a good... I still can't even say, though, that it's a good addition. If it were, like... I'll be honest, there isn't too terribly much that I looked into there, because simply, like, how much more do you need to add to, oh, there's a casino in a game where you can spend actual money on the game, and now there's a casino in the game. It's along those lines of, like, the repair kits and stuff like that to me.
Yeah.
Where it's just like that. Again, they're not just opening the door this time. It's opening the door for all other developers to, like, try something like this, and then who's going to moderate that?
Well, like, it has already been somewhat moderated because you can't access a bunch of the stuff in certain countries.
Yeah.
So this is.
But I'm saying, like, it shouldn't. It shouldn't already be at that level, but it is, kind of thing. Like you're saying, like, and I think I remember reading that too, is that other countries just simply don't allow you to play that, like, update of the game or like the game at all, because of the governments stepping in for stuff like this, and that's I mean, a sure sign to me that, developers should not keep doing this, but money kind of thing.
And so much money.
So much money.
Anyone out there, just take a look at how much FIFA Ultimate Team makes, and you'll realise why microtransactions are not going away anytime soon. EA makes like... I want to say it's like 8% of their overall revenue or something crazy like that, just from microtransactions from that one game for, like, this stupid big company. It's not even video games, just microtransactions are $1 billion industry. It's crazy. Be prepared for a casino in every future game coming forward. Outer Worlds, casino, whatever the next Pokemon is, casino. Fortnite, they've probably already started working on a casino. Yeah.
So there is a casino I'm cool with in DLC form, and that's Dead Money, the Sierra Madre. Because that casino's trying to kill you. Anyway, I wanted to draw a comparison really quick, because when I was very young, I saw somebody I knew go through gold fever. Like, there was one point where me and some people were going gold panning, and one of them legit would not leave when it was time to leave.
Yeah.
And this is what the publishers get. This is what the publishers get. They will not leave well enough alone, or once they have a taste for how much they can get, or the fact that they can get it, they will not stop. And it's I
mean, in that example as well, the person gold panning would have just put their pan in and come up with, like, a piece of gold twice the size of their head, which ultimately makes it much, much worse.
Yep. And that makes you more hungry for it too, kind of thing. So yeah, there's I hate that it's like kind of a no-win scenario, except for the publishers. Without us, actively doing something to stop ourselves from engaging in these kinds of things.
Yeah.
But that was an off, like, depressing tangent. So why don't we move on to something else? Why don't we move on to the cool stuff that was shown at the QuakeCon 76 panel instead?
Yeah.
Because there was more there than I expected.
It was good. At first, they showed off a trailer, introduced people, talked about stuff we already had, and I was taking notes at the time, as is part of what I do, and I was like, man, I'm not going to have anything to make a video about or anything. Then they were just like, oh, we're just going to keep talking about all the stuff we've got coming and show the next bit of a roadmap, and we're going to actually answer questions, which it felt much less like a fully rehearsed panel, and more like they were just being asked questions and then having to kind of answer on the spot, which you don't get too often, especially this is QuakeCon, which is a Bethesda panel with full Bethesda employees, and they seemed at points to kind of not be entirely sure how to answer and how much they could say, which was nice. Mm-hmm. I was very happy to see that.
I know that they were still doing like a semi-damage control thing because they were like drawing questions with the community managers instead of instead of just having like an open mic type thing, because that could have been a train wreck.
Oh, I mean, I was just happy there was no one in the audience just booing the whole time. The audience was relatively small there, to be fair, as well, so I'm guessing it was just for real 76 fans and stuff who were It was that, and it was also because it was earlier in the morning that, early, the first, I think it was the first panel of QuakeCon, so 10 a.m. or something like that, and this was well into the weekend already, so people were probably sleeping in or something like that. Yeah. So, I saw a big gap in the chairs, but it was kind of justified for, conventions like that. So, and also, of course, 76's interest is kind of not the greatest all the time. Nice. But some of the things they showed, I don't know, do you want to go over? Shameless self-promotion here. I've done a full video going over, everything with details and stuff, but they showed off a surprising amount of stuff, and for those of you who don't like Fallout 76, they did talk about Wastelanders, the, what's it called? NPC filling of the game.
The NPC update.
Yep. Which is coming.
The RPGifying update.
October, November time? I can't remember the exact date, but in a couple of months. And whilst you're taking a look at that, they also talked. They mentioned in a one-line thing, which was one of the bits that it felt like they weren't supposed to be talking about, that private servers are coming sooner than you think, which is the exact wording of what was said, which bugs me a bit. Not so much because of the wording, that's them being a bit careful, but also being we're working on it and we want to bring it out as soon as possible kind of way. But people are going all over the place with that, because sooner than you think can mean anything. If you think they're never coming, they could come in 100 years and it would be sooner than you think. If you think they're coming in a week's time, if they don't show up by that end of the week, it's suddenly an outrage. Oh god, and people are getting angry about it already. Oh dear.
Oh, really?
I've seen a few people get kind of just annoyed, more so at me to be fair, because this was me going, oh, it could be later than what you think, when someone is saying, oh, we've got private servers coming out in a couple of weeks' time with the next update or whatever. I'm going, it could be still a way off. And then them going, screw you, buddy, private servers are coming straight away. Of course they are. They promised. Bethesda himself promised that private servers were coming, and I'll get a play and it'll all be perfect and work excellently.
What else they showed on the roadmap was the Vault upcoming, in August and September, are the Meat Week, which is going on right now.
Yep.
The Vault 94 raid, which is going to introduce a lot of cool new things, including the Frond power armor and armor outfits. Mm-hmm. The fern, it's got ferns growing off of it and stuff like that. Yeah. Different plants and stuff. It's another plant vault. Think Vault 22. Probably a different experiment entirely, though. Yeah. Choose your perks. This is a nuclear winter thing. Duplicate perk cards. You can now choose or refund them for points. to choose your own perks later.
That's cool.
Or choose your own perks with those points in Nuclear Winter instead of relying on the randomization of your perks to get, frog legs if you're still waiting for that one, which I am, and I think you are too, right, Sarge?
I suppose technically. I've just kind of given up on hoping that I'm going to get the right Nuclear Winter perks. Until the new map comes in September, that is. Because they showed off the Morgantown map, or at least little bits of it.
You went over one of the really important things for
the display
camps,
case
though.
Releases. Yeah, I've got the roadmap up as well.
Yeah, so also system improvements. Okay, so the event system improvements, they mentioned that being like interface type stuff that like has reminders on the map, has a lot more details on the map. They're going to make traveling to events free instead of costing a few caps.
Yeah.
And they're going to show, like, on the map itself, it's going to show, like, the duration of the event, too, so you don't have to travel there only to find out, like, you're a minute away from it canceling out.
Yeah. A couple of things I really liked about that as well is they mentioned more clarity on what rewards you'll get, which makes it sound like I might actually have some idea as to whether or not I should jump over to an event and then suddenly get just, like, a few bits of ammo and some purified water, or if it could give me, like, a really cool rare item. And also they've got on the roadmap itself featuring new performance-based reward rules, which makes me think, oh cool, people just AFK in events aren't going to get the same rewards as everyone else, which can be a problem.
Like damage contribution, or...
I'm hoping it's not just damage. But, I mean, they show in the image, like, the Imposter Sheep Squatch, where you have to power pylons and stuff. That is a key part of that event, but doesn't require you to, like, shoot at the Sheep Squatch or anything, and people often don't do it because they're idiots and so on. So if they're making it more based on the specific event... No, not at all, not at all. I'm always a power pylon. Why would I be salty about it? Just constantly spamming stimpaks and shouting at people to power the damn pylons already. No, I'm fine about it. But I'd like to see it if it's a case of, if you decide to become a power pylon, you'll get, like, a few bonus caps or something. Even if it's just that. Something to incentivize people to actually do what the event tells you to do.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah, that'll be great. We're seeing that problem in Meat Week as well, which is going on right now, where I've seen a few people
are just AFKing.
Yeah, show up, go AFK. They're even going AFK in an event where there's an option to basically go AFK, where you play the drums and go AFK, and it helps towards the event. Despite that, I'm still seeing people stand in the middle and just in the way of everyone, not doing anything beneficial and going AFK.
And the crazy part is, like, I only did 1 hour's worth of the prime cuts and the Meat Week thing, and I ran into so many AFK players that would just jump to the event and just stand there. It's it's really disappointing to see that, but I don't have a solution for that really either, though.
I mean, the performance-based rewards.
Besides that,
if they add that in well, it will help out. Because, I mean, if you go to the event, I think you should get a reward even if you don't contribute at all, just in case you are a lower level player or something and nothing you do technically registers as contribution. But if they can make it so that if you're, like, soloing the Sheep Squatch whilst everyone else is doing nothing, that you get better rewards, that'll be great for getting people to be more active in the game, which is needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so beyond that, the extra things that they showed that were coming to Wastelanders and around that time were they had a whole bunch of concepts for NPCs that they were showing off, and some of these actually look really cool, and I hope that the sets that they come with, that they're wearing, are also available to players. Gosh dang it.
It's such cool stuff.
Yeah, the guy that's wielding a spear, like an actual, like, a different type of spear than the one we're able to get right now.
Yep.
So, like, modifiable or something like that. And then quite a few others. There's the, like, workman outfits. There's quite a few of those in the multiple shot. And also, the big one that I was excited about, that Mr. Matty Plays even gave me a shout out about because I posted on Reddit so fast, was the return of Gauss weaponry from the classic games. And these are not just inspired, but the pistol especially looks very close to what the original pistol looked like. So they are drawing inspiration from the classic games more so than not now. And also the plasma rifle, the classic plasma rifle look, or the plasma caster, as a lot of people know it as, from New Vegas, that is going to be making a return as well. And also, it's not just weapons, it's also going to be some enemies. Floaters are returning from the classic games as well. They showed a concept of 3 different types of floaters, 3 different variants: the Flamer, the Freezer, and the Chomper. 3 different goofy-looking floating fellas that are probably going to be, my guess, my assumption, is going to be from, or in Vault 94. You're going to encounter them. So
it will be after that, won't it?
It'll be after that?
Yeah, because they come with Wastelanders, which isn't till like October, November kind of time.
Oh wait, you could be right.
Yeah.
Never mind. So what I said.
Yeah, the next couple of months we're not seeing that stuff. Wasteland is coming after September, so October, November we can expect it. Which also is when a whole bunch of other games release, which kind of makes sense for them making this huge update, which could draw lots of people back in, because they're suddenly fighting again to get people into the game when they'll be dragged away by other games like, oh, Outer Worlds, what's that? You can see there's going to be a bit of a challenge there. Especially for me, who will be trying to cover both games at once and working out how little sleep I can survive on. It's an hour a day, that's all I need, I'll be fine.
Yeah, so I made a mistake there. The floaters are going to be coming back at some point much further after Vault 94, because that's this month. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to try that too.
Yeah, got nice stuff coming in September.
But the drawing from the classic stuff, I think I talked to a whole bunch of people in the Appalachian Explorers and stuff like that, and the subreddit a whole bunch, that people want to see more classic stuff returning. And Bethesda, it seems like the Texas studio is listening to that now, or at least by appearance. Maybe they had a lot of these things planned beforehand, they just didn't plan on dropping them until the game is a more polished state. But yeah, either way, I'm excited to be able to use the Gauss weaponry again.
Yeah,
that's the classic stuff, not the railroad garbage.
Well, something that's in Fallout 76 right now is update 11.5, which went live Thursday, which is yesterday, or 2 days ago, or 4 days ago, depending on time zones and what day you're listening to this and what day we're recording on. God, I hate time zones. It's Saturday morning for me right now, but I know it's Friday for Caedo. It's weird. So, and it's Sunday for you lot if you're listening on this day, or it could be a day after. Who knows? You could be listening to this a year from now. In which case, what's the future like? Let us know in the comments below. Anyway, update 11.5 had a lot of really small stuff which kind of has been overlooked and which I've forgotten about, because Meat Week and a double XP weekend was what got everyone's attention. And I just want to say, Meat Week is a really cool seasonal event, because it has an awesome NPC, one of my favourites in all of Fallout, Graham, the friendly super mutant vendor, with Charlie the Moo.
That's right.
Yeah, how can you not love that? I literally told my mum about this before she went away for some holiday thing, and I was like, oh yeah, it's Meat Week this week, so I'll be all busy and stuff. It's Graham and Charlie the Moo, and her eyes just lit up so much when I said Charlie the Moo. She was 100% invested. She's never played a Fallout game as far as I know. She wants to know everything about Charlie the Moo. It's perfect. But it's a really cool event as well, because pretty much every single event in the game requires you to kill things or do a lot of fighting. It's much more a case of the higher level players with the best gear get the most out of events and can have the easiest time with them. If you're a low level player, you're going to struggle with most of the stuff. This one though, head over, party, do some cleaning, do some scavenging. It's really hectic and can be failed. I failed the event twice because there's not been enough people doing enough stuff. But it's also something which levels everyone out. Doesn't matter if you're level 2 or level 200. You can do just as well at this event, which I really like, because it just brings everyone together for a quick cookout, which is what this game's all about. Maybe
a quick cookout?
Yeah, that's Fallout 76, a quick cookout. Don't you remember that E3 trailer that popped out?
Was there anything specific from 11.5 patch notes that you wanted to mention?
No, not really. I mean, to the point of my kind of update video for patch 11.5 was simply Meat Week is here, because the non-Meat Week stuff was really minor, to the point of I have forgotten basically all of it. I am going to boot up the patch notes right now, in case there was anything huge which kind of slipped in and I've forgotten about. But it was very
The
much...
Ring of Fire track that they played for Nuclear Winter was added to the radio.
Yep, and some bug fixes here and there have been added.
A lot of bug fixes.
Yep, fertilizer producers no longer consume as much camp space, which I'm happy about because I've suddenly got space in my camp. Some nuclear winter fixes, some stability, some sound, some user interface. Yeah, it was just like basic bug fixes and Meat Week. So Meat Week was a huge thing on it. Other than that, it's just generic bug fixes to try and get things better.
And thankfully not as many bug fixes as last patch 11, because people were upset.
Yeah, patch 11, a lot of stuff went wrong with that, which was fixed for the most part in hotfixes, and even the stuff that went right, it was stuff people often weren't happy about, because it was like a couple of nerfs here and there, and changes to things which caused like mild irritation. So, yeah, people weren't happy with patch 11, to the point of I had several people in my comments being like, "Oh, I'm done with the game forever."
Yeah, Sarge did see me just fall down dead after throwing a grenade. That was cool.
Yeah, there's been a few weird glitches here and there.
It was very odd, but it wasn't a death zone.
No,
because I could return to my corpse, but it was something to do with the grenade's damage just went directly back to me or something like that. I have no idea.
Yeah, we had after a very long time of the game getting objectively better, like stability and all of that stuff wise, we had a bit of a dip with patch 11. I'm very glad to see that patch 11.5 hasn't had any like huge noticeable, the game is broken after this patch. It seems to be a case of the game is objectively better after this patch, which, if they can keep it up, will be great.
Yeah, and it's because, well, if Meat Week came out and it came with a whole lot of bugs alongside it, like that would be a whole different thing for people to gripe about.
Yeah, I believe it was actually delayed 2 days, which did get...
Yeah.
I had a lot of comments with people being very angry and demanding it to be out 2 days earlier. But it is a case of, if it can come out and not be filled with bugs, it's always going to be better for it to be delayed than it come out early and be filled with bugs. Kind of like 76 in general was.
Dude, this is absolutely one of the games that needs to have more delays.
Yeah.
If it needed a year delay.
Yeah. If 76 was coming out now, in the state it is, there would not be anywhere near as much outrage as what it got. Because right now, it is a game which you can have a lot of fun with. There are problems, never going to lie about that, but it's something which you can jump in, play for several hours without anything game-breaking happening to you for the most part, and have lots of different activities to get involved in, and even meet up with like NPCs and lore stuff which you'll enjoy. Because there's more of that in the game now. The game's like a million times better than it was during the beta at launch.
It's so much more improved. I wish they had waited. I really wish they had. It's not like, I don't think they're struggling with money. I think they just wanted to push out another game.
Yeah.
Had that hunger.
Well, the speculation time. We know that it started out as kind of like a in-studio mod for Fallout 4 as the multiplayer add-on. So it probably started out as just DLC essentially for Fallout 4, and then after it took so long and they were like, okay, we need to really work on it and stuff, it then got kind of ported to its own separate game and they worked on more stuff out of it, which means they were working on an entirely different basis, because we've heard in previous things, I apologise I'm not citing my sources here, this is going from my memory of all the billions of hours of Bethesda-based stuff I've watched, that they often start with the map, which means they wouldn't have been starting with the map this time, they would have been starting with the base code they had, and trying to build a game from code and then build a map around it. Obviously didn't work too well for them, hence we've got a huge wide map where it's like, oh, we need lots of players so we need a bigger map, but then it's very not filled with stuff which they've been working on in updates. It was like an entirely different process for them, which probably got rushed because it went from being just, oh, this is probably going to be DLC, to, oh, this is going to be an entire game We need to suddenly throw in more resources. Is this bleeding resources? We better get it out quickly so people are buying and paying for it. And oh god, business is complicated. Kill me now. Is how the conversation went at Bethesda.
I can imagine that. I can see that.
Something else that drives me crazy is our Fallout topic of the day, companions.
Does that drive you crazy?
It's not so much that companions drive me crazy as I just do often play Fallout games as like the lone rifleman sniper person, down, bow, just away from everyone, silent protagonist style. So maybe we should have you start off talking about companions, because you'll do a better job of it, I'm sure.
But that's so lonely.
That's life.
Don't you want somebody along with you who carries all your stuff?
Okay, so real talk as well. In real life right now, I'm gonna be like on my own for a week or two, because I briefly mentioned actually earlier in the PIPCAST, but my mum's gone on like a holiday kind of ish thing. I'm not gonna get into details about it, obviously, but it's a case of like I'll walk up to my grandma's. I do that like once a week to help out with stuff around the house and whatever. And other than that, like, I don't make face-to-face interactions with anyone, and I'm perfectly fine with that, and it's been that way for, like, I've been doing YouTube for, like, 10 months full-time now, so, like, the whole concept of loneliness and being alone is just, like, day-to-day life for me, and I am 100% fine with it for the most part. It's like, yes, that's so normal and nice, and oh, what, not dealing with crazy people all the time who are gonna scream about apples as they... Hastings is a weird place. I'm not going to go on because I've realised I can't continue to talk about it without either swearing or saying something very inappropriate. Yep. I don't miss my old job. There was weird stuff there. We won't get into that. Caedo, okay. Fallout 1.
Alright, yes. Okay, so I figure that one of the things, I guess many things that Companions brought to the Fallout franchise was different mechanics and different ways to play, and they got more and more advanced as they went along, and then got less advanced, and then got more advanced again. At least in the way I see it, the way I took notes, I guess, from the wiki and stuff like that. So we're going to go over the mainline games and Fallout New Vegas because that's kind of a pseudo mainline and also spin-off. So in Fallout 1, you had 4 companions. You had Ian, Dogmeat, Tycho, and Katya. I think that's how you pronounce her name. It's Katja.
Catjaw. Obviously.
So each of these characters had a bit of backstory to them, and they had minor party banter, mostly during combat. Well, I don't even know if they had combat dialogue.
I feel like they said the occasional line.
Yeah, they would speak once in a while about the area you were in or who you were talking to or something like that. But usually they were pretty reserved, didn't really say much. I learned that there was contextual skill use for some of the characters, Katya especially. There's spots like in the cathedral where you can talk to Katya directly and be like, hey, can you lockpick this? And she's like, I'm on it. And that's like the only place you can do that. and it's you have to speak to your companion during that time to figure it out. Yeah. Also, companions in the first 2 games are killable. They can be killed, and that's another one of the reasons why you save scum all the time in those games, because you can lose your companions pretty easily. Yep. Just from accidental burst fire on each other too, which can happen to you as well. And you get partial equipment control in Fallout 1, which is just weapons, really. Yeah. The companions don't level up during the first game. So what makes companions good? Assume that the pack mule thing, that's just assumed. Like, that's one of the regular benefits to having a companion. If they have a contribution of some kind to the story or to the world or something to that effect, besides just being your pack mule and being some extra damage output.
I feel like that's a bit of a difficult question, because once you remove those things, you also partially get a focusing on them just as a standard NPC as well. Because there's also the divide between what is just some random NPC versus some random NPC who follows you around. Like, if you get rid of the pack mule and the extra damage and the fact they have the standard NPC stuff, then it is just you have an NPC that follows you around who you might be able to play a little bit of dress up with. So without the pack mule and extra fire thing, they are just another NPC, really. Which, why did we pick this as a topic, Caedo? It's so sad now.
You suggested it.
I did.
If I remember correctly.
And they seem so great. I think companions are kind of great in concept until you said ignore the pack mule and gun side of things, and I suddenly thought, oh, they're just the same as everything else. They're just things waiting to be killed or not be killed. Yeah.
But that helps you determine what is a good, how they contribute to the world is what I'm trying to get through. Because like NPCs can do that, but there's NPCs that a lot of the times, sometimes can be lackluster or annoying in the wrong way, like Dr. Lee.
The game I'm going to focus on here a bit is Fallout 4, with the whole kind of affinity system, because I think that was a really good, obvious way as well to show how companions can have quite an impact, because it was a case of you might change the way you play based on what the companion liked or disliked. So if I'm travelling around with, like, Codsworth, I'm slightly less inclined to murder an entire town of civilians, because he won't like that. Whereas if I'm travelling with Dogmeat, he doesn't care. So I'm all up for mass murder and becoming a serial killer. He's not going to tell anyone. So they can impact the way you play just based on their people, and humans naturally try and conform to some extent to what the mass wants them to do. In this case, just another person or robot or animal following you around will give you feedback on your actions, and based on that, you change the entire way you play the game, which goes back to the tip of the day. Oh!
Explore your options. That was a good callback, Sarge. And also, what got us thinking initially, if you didn't catch the last PIPCAST, what got us thinking about this initially was the karma and reputation systems of games, because companions have their own as of Fallout 4. Whereas it was all kind of reputation and karma based in Fallout New Vegas. And
as much as people say, like, Fallout 4, oh, it's not as much of an RPG as the other games, the companion system, I will say, and defend this to the death, I'd say it's the best out of all of the games.
Absolutely. No, I will back you up on that.
Sweet.
Absolutely.
Because that was done really well, and I'm sad I didn't spend more time with a lot of companions, because looking down the list, there are about 3 or 4 companions I spent a decent bit of time with. Everyone else was a bit partial. Actually, I don't think I ever got Curie as a companion throughout, like, all of my time playing.
She is freaking adorable. She is.
I live on the coast near France. I hear French accents from French students all the time, which puts a bad impression on the French voice, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I always feel bad about that.
She has the childlike sense of wonder type thing going on, because she's never been outside of the vault.
Yeah.
Up until you invite her to. So she's just out discovering things. and saying, like, oh, I don't like this when she, like, kills someone. It's pretty great. That
is quite cool. Maybe I'll have to do another playthrough of Fallout 4 just to get Curie on the side.
Maybe I'll get her in the VR whatever I decide to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to go through and mention also that Fallout 4 had the second most companions in the Fallout games too. I made sure to put the amount of companions you can get in each game too.
Yeah, I'm finding this quite fascinating.
Yeah. So Fallout 2 had the most. Fallout 2 had 14 companions. That's so many. You could have a maximum of 5 in your party.
Yeah, which kind of makes sense for why there were so many. Because the modern Fallout games, you have one person follows you around. Like, some quests, like in Fallout 4, there is one, I believe, where you have, like, Dogmeat and Nick at the same time, or stuff like that, but they're not true companions at the same time. So the fact in Fallout 2, how it was like, oh, we'll have almost half, like, you have almost over a third of all of the companions potentially following you at once, is a bit crazy.
And the funny part is, you can make, 4 of them can be dogs in Fallout 2.
Jeez.
Yeah. So whoever remembers Dr. Henry, one of the Enclave remnants in Fallout New Vegas, he is in Fallout 2 in the NCR. Like he leaves the Enclave and joins the NCR as a scientist, and he actually asks you to try out a super mutant serum to reverse the effects of the FEV, and it goes horribly wrong. Anyway, he has a robo-dog that he will give you, basically, if you complete this quest for him, and it's freaking hilarious. But even the dogs have like funny situations where you get a little bit of extra funny backstory of the game just by wanting to have them as a companion. And in Fallout 2, the cool thing is too, you have full control over the dogs instead of like in Fallout 1 where they just follow you around and run into force fields and die.
Yeah.
Or run into rockets and die. Oh, let's see. Fallout 3 and New Vegas were tied with the amount of companions you could have, with 8. Mm-hmm. 8 each. And a lot of them I forget about, to be honest. Some of them are more forgettable than others.
Oh.
Possibly because in Fallout 3 you have the lawful good Star Paladin Cross, and then you have the chaotic evil Clover. Neither of which I really have as a companion. And then you have the true neutral, what is it, the robot, Sergeant RL3. You have to be neutral to have him on your team, and I never am in Fallout 3. It's either one way or the other a lot of the time.
In Fallout 3, I'm looking, we've got all of the names here on our little sheet of notes. 4 of the names, I would say, yep, I know who those are. And that's Sergeant RL3, Jericho, Forks, and Dogmeat. And one of them you find through the main quest completely unavoidable. Another one is in like the first town you go to, very easy to bump into. Dogmeat is Dogmeat, iconic within the Fallout franchise. And Sergeant RL3, I mean, my name's Sarge, obviously I'm going to remember the military robot. So, yeah, it's only the ones that are like the most obvious and stand out in a huge way I remember at all. The other 4, Butch Delorio, Star Paladin Cross, Clover, and Charon?
Butch is the one from the vault, though. You
can he be
have
companion?
him as a companion? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How have I missed that?
Yeah.
I never knew that. I assumed it was a different person called Butch.
Nope. Same Butch.
Okay.
Yeah, Tunnel Snakes rule.
Tunnel Snakes. I suppose I saved him in my most recent playthrough, so I suppose they reluctantly rule.
Yeah. And Fox is part of the story as well. You run into Fox as well. And if you're good, lawful good, again, he will join your party.
Yep.
He's got more incentive than Star Paladin Cross, though, because he's got a more interesting story, I guess. Being a super mutant and all that.
Yeah.
And intelligent.
His story as well is woven into the main story itself to some extent, which...
For 3rd gen? This is 3rd gen.
Let's not get into super mutants right now, because the whole lore of them changes with every game to some extent.
Yep, alright.
That's too complicated.
They're mostly dum-dums.
Yeah. He's a smart super mutant.
Yes, surprisingly so.
Yeah.
Okay, what else are we going to go over? Oh, I guess more positives, as things adapt and change throughout the games. Full equipment and combat control came with Fallout 2 for characters. You could control how they worked in combat too. You could be like, don't burst fire behind me. Or, if you're injured, heal yourself, and what threshold to have that at. Or use any chems anytime kind of thing.
Was Fallout 2 also the one where it was, please step out of this doorway, you're blocking the entire questline from finishing?
Fallout 2, you had the push mechanic, yes.
Yeah, that was definitely a good addition.
That's going into the tips and tricks that I'm working on, actually.
Oh, that's... Yeah. That was a real game changer.
Very much so. In every sense of the word. Yeah, most possible companions at once in Fallout 2, which is outstanding. They banter all the time between each other. They just say phrases. You can go to the Cat's Paw in New Reno and get them laid if you want to, and then the rest of your party claps for them. Like it's hilarious. The game it never takes itself too seriously. And then, of course, in Fallout 3, you had the characters with the semi-limited backstories. Like, you learn about Butch a little bit, and it's very clear, like, once you meet his mom and learn more about his mom, that they have a difficult kind of family situation going on.
The characters in Fallout 3, that's the point where it dipped a little bit before going back up.
The characters, the characters and how how interesting they were. Yeah. The most backstory you'd get for the companions would be before you pick them up.
Yep.
And then after that point, there would be, like, nothing.
Or in Jericho's case, it's basically nothing, and then continues to be basically nothing.
Running low on smokes again, or whatever.
I smoke.
Then,
I used to be a bad guy. I'll follow you around if you're evil. Those are his free traits. That's all you're getting, people.
Give him a pack of cigarettes, though, and he'll smoke them.
Oh, that's the most exciting thing he's got going.
That's the only thing he really does, yeah. Just smokes a lot and says, "Get down!" Whatever he says in combat, I don't remember. He's so memorable. Okay, so Fallout New Vegas kind of flipped everything on its head. You know, I mean, I figured earlier I said we shouldn't focus too much on Obsidian, but Obsidian did some cool stuff with New Vegas.
Yeah.
So the characters had much more backstory and personal quests that you could do, and party perks and personal perks. These are all things that were essentially brand new for for Fallout games, kind of, at that point. Unkillable. They were unkillable unless you were in hardcore mode. Yeah. That was one of the things. And in my New Vegas Buckaroo playthrough, I actually got Cass killed because we got snuck up on by some some fire geckos, and they just slapped the crap out of her.
I will say, just as a general rule, killable companions. I much prefer that. Let my companions die. It also stops you from being able to cheese the game quite so much with just sending a companion out over and over again.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Makes you actually consider their well-being somewhat.
I would go for that as well, and having a means for them to keep themselves alive too, if that's the case. Like the auto-use stim packs or stuff like that. Like, I wonder if those actually work on companions. I don't remember.
No idea.
Some of the various companions had other utilities with them. Like, if Veronica was in your party, you could. She had a portable crafting bench. You could just be like, "Let's craft something," and you just craft instead of having to find a bench. And Eddie would give you. I think this is after Lonesome Road. Would give you the ability to, like, craft ammo, like, whenever you want to, or give you ammo and different various cool upgrades and stuff like that. Eddie was kind of a special anomaly, though, because it's part of Lonesome Road. You get all these Eddie upgrades at the same time.
Yeah. It's worth pointing out as well, we're not talking specifically about temporary DLC companions, because New Vegas had a lot of that, where it was like Dead Money had technically like a few extra companions.
3,
but they weren't available outside of that DLC. It was just a quest-based thing. So,
but they were all awesome.
They were cool.
They're very, very awesome companions. But yeah, this is definitely just focused on the vanilla game for all of these. And so in Fallout 4, like we said before, the companions' backstory, their quests involved the fact that they will contribute to conversations, making it much more storytelling.
They felt much more ingrained into the world rather than just a piece of code that shoots at your enemies for you.
Just standing outside of your whole sphere of influence, and instead being a part of the world. Still, Piper and Preston were kind of part of the introductory stuff, because they had a lot of more motion capture and stuff like that. But after you get to know, like, the other companions too, like McCready for one, oh my goodness, he's freaking sassafras, and I love it.
You can also create some really kind of stupid moments, like when you bring Nick aboard the Pridwin, and it's like the Simps just walking around with the Brotherhood of Steel, and you get some weird kind of reactions where the Brotherhood are obviously quite annoyed that he's there, and he's kind of like, oh, what am I doing here? And the fact they kind of let you bring companions who definitely shouldn't be in certain locations along was both stupid and genius at the same time.
Yeah, because even in Fallout 2, you could walk into a place and they'll be like, we won't serve that thing. And they're pointing at your ghoul companion or your mutant companion, and you have to actually excuse them to actually talk to this NPC. Or in the case of Vault City, they can't get into the city at all unless you become a citizen and then leave them there, talk to the guard, get the gate open, and then grab them and run through the gate with your companion. In which case, there's some cool extra stuff you can do by sneaking your mutant like Marcus into Vault City, which is pretty great. The complex commands in Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Part of it came from Skyrim, but you can tell companions to, if you hold down your activate button, you can tell them to move somewhere or attack something, or you can tell them to activate something or steal something.
Very specific commands.
Or in the case of their skills, like Kate, for example, if she has bobby pins on her, she can lockpick for you. If there's a terminal nearby, you can have Nick hack it. Sometimes you don't need, these specific perks for your character, and you can just bring a companion along that'll do it for you. And I thought that addition was really cool too.
Something we've not actually put in there, which I'm just going to slide in quick, is you could make your own companions in Fallout 4 with Automatron.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, that DLC.
Yeah, it's DLC, but I will say that was really cool as well, just with the whole skill-based thing, because you could put different skills onto them. And it also added more customization for Kate and Curie. Not Kate, Codsworth and Curie, sorry.
Codsworth and Curie. Kate's a cyborg? What?
Spoilers.
that brain in a Robo-Brain NPC was not a fan of that one.
Oh, you can kill her. It's fine.
You can?
Yeah, after the quest is done, you just shoot her after putting her in a stupid body with no legs. That's what I do.
Oh, okay. I should probably do that.
Do that in your VR thing. Take your time with it, though. Nice and slow.
Well, VR doesn't have DLC.
Ah, stupid VR.
I know. It's still fun, though.
Yeah.
It's still very fun. I don't really know what else I wanted to talk about with the NPCs and companions. Companion NPC things.
I will say for the future of Fallout, I will be happy as long as even if they're just as good as the companions in Fallout 4, in Fallout 5 or whatever the next single-player companion-based one is, I'll be happy with that. We do actually have companions coming to Wastelanders, but it's going to be a very different thing. We will talk about it once it's out, because it'll be a big talking point. We might end up, I hate to say it for those of you who don't like 76, but there's a good chance we'll have a PIPCAST episode when Wastelanders comes out that's almost entirely 76, because there could be a stupid amount of stuff to talk about in that one. So, apologies if that is the case, but there'll be companions.
Well, we might do a similar thing for the Outer Worlds.
Yeah, so it all depends on what the news is at the time. Hence, this one's been quite long, because there was a lot of news and a lot of different things
different flavors for what you like, yeah.
But no, in future, I just like them to kind of refine it and make it even better. The one thing which I did mention, how the good and stupid, how you can have Nick Valentine on the Brotherhood thing, or X66 as well. I'd like it if they went back to the way Obsidian did it, I guess, where it is they won't act nice around the enemy faction. Boone is one who's most memorable to me. When you head over to Kaiser's camp, he's just I'm gonna shoot everyone, so unless we're turning back, just giving you the heads up for that. That is why Boone was one of my favourite companions for years.
Because he warns you ahead of time too.
Yeah.
I'm just going to kill everything.
Yeah.
Hope you don't mind.
Yep.
If you do, leave me here.
That is so cool. That's the thing with me saying at the start I don't often travel around with companions. Boone is someone I tend to go for because he's just awesome. He's so cool.
And even because Arcade, I brought Arcade with me a lot, so he would let you ally with or get friendly with Caesar's Legion until you went into Caesar's camp, and then he'd be like, "Whoa, hold on a second, you're not gonna fully ally with them, are you?" And and you're and you have to calm him down by being like, "No, we're just gonna go talk. Don't worry." But it's just really, really cool having companions, be a part of things.
Yeah, and sometimes stop you from doing stuff or really alter plans. If you can add that little part of it into the Fallout 4 companions for Fallout 5, perfect. 10 out of 10 game, I'm sure, if that happens. even if a world glitches uncontrollably. Sure, it'd be great. That's all we want. That's all we want, Bethesda. That's one of the many, many things which are all we want, is companions to be as good as Fallout 4 and Fallout New Vegas combined. Get it done.
How about here's a tinfoil hat type thing.
Let me pop it on quick. There we go.
Okay, so with machine learning being able to do all kinds of crazy, stuff, and me not knowing much about it myself.
Oh dear.
What if we had companions that would somehow, through your own gameplay and their own alignment, I guess, you could ask them to take part in a mission without you, and then they could report it back or show you what they did.
I mean, you're saying machine learning on that, but you don't really need machine learning so much, because there's already a game franchise which has done that, Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor. They've got it where you can send people off to different missions and they'll do it on their own.
They do.
So that's all you need for the Fallout, which...
But I'm talking about showing the actual
like a
thing.
playback of the mission.
Yes.
You mean kind of like the fight pits almost in Shadow of War, where you get to see
Yeah, even though the fight pits are boring and sometimes glitch out.
I mean, it's still a good representation of the kind of thing you're going for. And by the way, if you haven't played it already, go play Shadow of War, because it's awesome and I love it.
Is there a way to skip the fight pits now?
I don't believe so, but I've never tried because I love them as well.
Okay.
I won't have a word said against them.
When I first played it, I got really bored with the fight pits.
I mean,
because of how grindy the end was.
I didn't worry too much about the actual grind because I didn't get big into the multiplayer side of things and making it like the best of the best.
Oh, it wasn't multiplayer. It was the Shadow Wars part.
Oh, just set the difficulty to easy. Pro tips.
It was just getting to the end.
Anyway, we are definitely getting distracted now. So, are we off of that topic now? Time to wrap it up, do you think?
Companions operating on their own, because we had Preston Garvey who would give you all of the tasks, and he would just stand there.
Yeah, he needs to go deal with settlements.
I want Preston Garveys in the future to go and actually do stuff, even if they're not in your party. Like, go and do things that you represent.
Yeah. Also, that would work quite well with the whole system of still only being able to have one companion with you, like the modern Fallout games have, but the fact in like Fallout 4 you could basically get, I think you could get all 13 companions at once, and just kind of throw them in a camp, and then they didn't do anything. If you could have them off doing other stuff, that'd be cool, and incentivize more getting all of the companions, so you can see what they all do.
Yeah. It's as opposed to assigning them things in the settlement, you could assign them to a mission.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect. And yeah, there have been games, many games in the past, even all the way far back to like Final Fantasy Tactics, where you could assign, people in your party to go off and do a mission together and come back and reap the rewards and get job points for it. So I want to see something like that. And an after mission report with actual footage would be frickin' cool. Like a first person view. I
think you're asking quite a lot there.
Dude, it would be so cool though.
I mean, I hate to be the realistic guy here. A short, cinematic of, a companion killing some raiders and picking up, a settler off the ground who had been tied up and it's all gone fine. Fair enough. If you want, a full first person viewpoint of the entire mission, I mean, employees need to eat and sleep and stuff as well, man. Come on.
Be so cool. Okay, yeah, that's basically all I got for the companions thing. What do you all think about companions and how they've advanced throughout the franchises that you've played? Please let us know in the comments. Please contribute. I would love to hear what you have to say.
Alright, so, segue time, people. The final boss of any game. Favourite boss of every game, sorry. Oh, both of those sentences were wrong, but mash them together and they're right. So, a bit of a random topic. Caedo and I are going to talk about our favourite bosses from any game. I'm going to jump in straight with mine, because I started talking. And it's a bit of a weird one. It's Viper from Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2, not just a multiplayer game, had an amazing single-player campaign, which, if you're a fan of first-person shooters, you should play through, because it's awesome. And the Viper fight, so Titanfall 2 is a game where you're like a pilot, you can jump in a mech, giant shooty, that's all you need to know. Viper was a flying mech who you fought on the back of a, spaceship plane travelling to a place to blow up the world or whatever. It was awesome just in concept, and the fight itself was so difficult. If you don't know what you're doing, Viper just eliminates you. Because it's a target that flies around constantly, can fire missile barrages at you every once in a while and stuff, and has just a supercharged giant sniper rifle. And it's so difficult, and I loved it, because it's a fight that is incredibly difficult, but once you know what you're doing, if you watch a speed run of it, it just gets obliterated, because it's not a difficult fight because of unfair mechanics, it's a difficult fight because it's not what you'd experience throughout the rest of the game, and I love that. And I'm not going to talk much more about it because I doubt there's many Titanfall 2 fans here, but it is so cool. Thumbs up.
I feel like this could lead into a new topic for next PIPCAST if we don't really have too much planned. So that's part of my line of thinking here too.
Oh.
Because if anybody recalls, Fallout 3's boss fights were not really great.
Fallout 3 had boss fights?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Could have fooled me.
And that's why we're going to talk about it. And even Fallout New Vegas kind of struggled with the idea of a boss fight too.
There was Leg Atlanteus. That's the only one. Leg
Atlanteus and Father Elijah, maybe.
Yeah.
It's kind of a boss fight. He just hit really hard. There didn't seem to be much dynamics. That's one of the things 76 is doing fairly well now. Is adding dynamics to the actual fight instead of just being oh, whoever does more damage, go.
Yep.
Because that gets old really fast, because that makes the boss no different than the rest of the things that you're fighting.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we could talk about that next time. Save some of the conversation for next time. But I wanted to mention one of my favorite bosses. There's so many bosses that I've played against that I'm just so great. Monster Hunter World is just a giant boss simulator, but I'm not going to go over that one. I'm going to say in Hellblade, because the game in itself is unique and amazing, and why haven't you played it yet if you haven't? Because it uses audio cues for a lot of mechanics in the game. So one of the bosses, you fight Fenrir, which this is all Norse mythology type
so
stuff
cool.
going on. And it's this giant beast that's it's like a nightmare beast that you're fighting, but it shows up in this big dark arena space, and when the fight kind of shifts and changes, you're mainly just dodging out of attacks, just whacking at its flanks for a little bit, and then the dynamic changes where it breathes this mist, and it kind of darkens the entirety of the room, so you just kind of see only Senua, the main character, and you're like, oh crap, where is he, kind of thing, because then you're just listening for its movement and its heavy breathing, and then the alert basically of when it's going to pounce, and then you have to dodge out of the way or you're just gonna get landed on. And it's stressful and fun, and it's so intense. That was probably one of my most favorite fights because of how they utilized not just the appearance, the visuals of the game, but also the audio and the player's stress level. But that one stood out to me the most. All the boss fights in that one, except maybe Surtur, he was probably the least. He was just a big, heavy-hitting guy with a big sword. Valravn was pretty cool too. Fenrir was the coolest, I think.
Fenrir's badass.
Yeah. What have you been playing and working on, Sarge?
Well, see, I was working on the segue just then, where I was going to say, so Caedo, you said everyone should be playing Senua's Sacrifice, but what have you been playing recently? It was going to be Flawless. So Flawless. But now I guess...
We could run with that.
No, we keep this in. I'm not allowing a retake. Keep this in.
Fix it in post.
Fix it in post.
Post fix, please. It's getting really hot in here.
It is. It's so hot. I'm sweating like crazy. Alright. I have been playing a few different games, actually. Because before patch 11.5, I didn't stop playing 76, because obviously it's my content and my job, and I need money and food to survive.
Yep.
But I took kind of a little break from it and played a bunch of other games, including Doom, 2016 Doom, I should point out, which was a lot of fun. I didn't actually complete it. I probably will go back to it at some point, because I'm like 2 missions away, maybe, from the end. And then I started going back and getting secrets and stuff, so I'll probably jump back into it. That's a lot of fun. Just lots of shooty-shootiness. Pretty cool. And the other game I wanted to talk about, which I'm going to not ramble on about, I'm going to be very good, is Fallout 3. Because like our tip of the day about exploring in different ways, I've been playing through Fallout 3 trying to do stuff I've never done in the game before. Which... there's some good and some bad to it. The fact... I'm doing stuff I've never done, and I'm trying to play it kind of as myself again, more so than playing as a specific build or character. And the first thing I did, which I've never done, is follow the main quest line. Which...
the way you're supposed to.
Yeah, so for me in the past, Fallout 3 was... you leave the vault, you go to River City, you go to Tranquility Lane. That's how it starts for me. Sometimes the pit gets thrown in as well. I do not play that game at all how it was meant to be played. I sequence break constantly. I skip around things. It's a whole mess, but it maximizes like stats and stuff. And it's like I'm partially speedrunning the game and partially power leveling. It's crazy. That's how I used to play. So I'm playing through in a more natural and organic way. And I'll tell you, the game's actually a lot better than I thought it was. Who would have thought that actually playing the game how it's supposed to be played goes quite well? So I met Free Dog for the first time, fought Behemoth really early on, met the Brotherhood. It's such a weird game when you play it through normally. I literally saved the game earlier as I'm heading towards the Museum of Technology, which I've never been to. I went through the metro tunnels for the first time ever, something which I've never done before. And I also did some side quests I've not done, mostly Arafu, and dealing with the family, which, I will say, a really nuanced and interesting take on vampires in the Fallout world.
Yeah.
It was so cool, and not what I expected, despite knowing the whole kind of twist of, oh, they're vampires. I knew that, and I was expecting it to just be really standard and boring. They did it in a really cool way, where it's like...
yeah.
The leader isn't just, yeah, I'm a vampire. That's how vampires talk, right? They're from the West Country. Pretty sure. Oh, I'm imagining vampire wurzels now. Regardless, he's like kind of accepting of the fact he knows his flock are cannibals, but he's doing some good in the world by stopping them from becoming just murderers and the crazy cannibals you'd expect in the post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
And more being a morally grey group of outlaws, I suppose. Which is something I don't often think about in Fallout. There's not that many decisions and characters and places where you think this is morally grey. Fallout has a tendency to be not entirely black and white at all, but it doesn't do the shades of grey as well as plenty of other games. Like The Witcher 3 is a big game where the Bloody Baron is a huge, like, grey character because you get to see them as a full human being. And seeing Fallout do something that was just even slightly like that was so cool, and I love it. And I'm looking forward to playing more Fallout 3, even considering streaming it. Which, next segue, by the time you finish listening to this, I might have started doing a live stream of Fallout 76 Meat Week, which I'm planning on doing on Sunday at like 8 PM my time, and this normally comes out at 6 PM my time, and it's probably going to be close to a couple of hours, so once you finish listening to this, if you listen straight away, I might be streaming. If you're listening at a different time, I'm probably not.
Awesome. Yeah. So, is that your ending to what you've been playing?
I mean, you were going to segue into streaming perfectly there, weren't you, Caedo?
I was going to segue into streaming something Fallout related.
I was hoping you'd be able to come with an awesome segue of like, well, Sarge, I've actually been streaming a fair bit myself, although my streaming schedule changed, so I should probably tell everyone on the PIPCAST fact, just in case they didn't realise.
Oh. Well, now I don't have to say it, because you just said it.
I need to teach you in my way of segue.
Gee whiz, Sarge! Streaming's great! I happened to change my schedule, if nobody noticed, about a couple weeks ago. Instead of Tuesdays, I stream on Wednesdays now. Because Wednesday, I don't feel like death.
Well, actually, you've changed the schedule just before you've left your job, which is kind of what the schedule was based around.
Which what caused me to feel like death in the first place.
Yeah.
So, but I'm probably just going to keep the Wednesdays anyway, because I don't plan on going back to 2 days a week for the Let's Play stuff. So, anyway, been playing Hades. Hades was 2 weeks ago, and now I've finally decided on making something on Fallout Tactics. So Fallout Tactics has begun. If you didn't catch that, the whole archive is up. It's been fun so far. It's weird to jump back into it. It's a lot easier to capture, I'll tell you that. And this is a different game, a very different in the three classic games. This is the most different of the first three, but it is still fun. Squad tactical combat type situation where it can be controlled like an RTS, and it's very awesome and fun.
I've been enjoying watching the stream actually, because it's one of the it's one of 2 Fallout games I think I've never played.
Yeah, and I've played Brotherhood of Steel more than I've played Tactics, so I announced that at the beginning of the stream too. I'm balancing that out.
Yeah,
I'm playing Tactics twice now, maybe more depending on interest, I suppose. But so there was that, and I can also say that I've played the first 2 Fallout games also the last couple of weeks. Not all the way through, mind you. None of these all the way through. But recorded Fallout 1 obviously for the playthrough, recorded Fallout 2 for guides, and Fallout Tactics for the live stream. So it's Fallout all the time.
24/7 Fallout.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier that Kite and I were playing Wolfenstein Youngblood. Already talked about that quite a bit. And Beat Saber. I've been trying to get... I've been trying to burn off what calories I keep accumulating by playing Beat Saber for a half an hour every single day, and getting better and better at playing that. So that's a lot of fun too. They added a couple new songs to Beat Saber. I wasn't expecting them to continuously update, but for how popular it is for VR, especially on Steam, on the Vive, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Because it's in the top 5 every single month. Just because it's so much fun, and it's a great party game too. The fact when we've been having people over every Thursday, every other Thursday, it's been, are you gonna bust out VR? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I got brackets for the walls in the living room to play VR in there too. So yeah, it's great.
Sweet. Well, if you want to watch either of us play video games, which is what we'll both be doing as our full-time jobs come a few days from now, then you can find us at our respective channels. You're already on Caedo's channel, so if you haven't worked that out already, I can't help you. I'm just impressed you made it to the end of the video. But
I can't make a guide to that.
No. If you want to check out my channel, which contains guides, challenge runs, the occasional live stream, and various other stuffs, I want to do more cinematic and weird stuff in the future, because I like my weird little videos like perk cards and stuff. Those are fun. I need to do more of them.
They are fun.
You can find me at youtube.com/BADCompanySarge. Go custom URLs. Yeah. And I make Fallout 76 stuff, although with Outer Worlds, Borderlands 3, and Cyberpunk coming out in the future, I will likely be covering those games as well. Plus, I've got a huge back catalogue of Shadow of War, Skyrim, and Fallout 4. So, even if you're not interested in my current stuff, there's likely a lot of stuff from the past that you will actually love.
If you want some context of Shadow of Mordor, I did a playthrough with Cody on that.
I did actually watch that not that long ago.
You did?
Yeah.
It's probably the least popular series on my channel. Just because it was so off the wall from everything else, but it's so fun. Yeah. It's so much fun. Anyway, hey, support me on Patreon. I'm going full time, and I want to do it forever.
Give Caedo all your money now, I say. This is a hold up.
Get some perks. Get credited in the final. You're gonna see it right now in the end card. Hey, you take care. Have a good rest of the next 2 weeks, and we'll see you in the next PIPCAST when we talk about bosses, I guess.